Hey, what's up everyone? In today's video we're going to be going over how to create this spinning loading animation. You'll notice that the green path expands and shrinks and also rotates and creates this nice animation. We're going to first start in this view controller class, which is our app's root view controller. I've gone ahead and initialized this loading view, which is the view we're going to be coding. I've added it to our view controller's view and constrained it to the center using AnchorKit. Because the spinning animation is pretty complex, we're going to start from the basics and move up from there. We first want to create a green bordered circle with a clear center. We're going to do this by creating a property called circle layer of type CA shape layer. And CA shape layer is a subclass of CA layer and allows you to draw a shape. We're going to set the circle layer's path property to be a Bezier path. And UI Bezier path has an initialization method which allows you to draw a circle very easily. So for the arc center we're going to use CG.0. For the radius we're going to use 100. For the start angle, we're going to use -pi/2, which is straight up. And we want it to be a full circle, so a full circle is 360 degrees, so we're going to add 2 pi to our start angle. And we want our shape to be drawn clockwise, so we're going to just set this property to be true. Now we can set our circle layer's path property to be the Bezier path CG path. We also need to add this layer to our view, and so the view has a layer property and we can add our circle layer as a sublayer. Now if we run the app, you'll see we first have this fully black circle. So there's a few more properties we need to set to get our green bordered circle with a clear center. The first property we're going to set is the stroke color. And we're going to set that color to uicolor.green.cgcolor. We're also going to set the line width to be 20. And if we run this, you'll see what these properties are really doing. You'll see that our stroke, basically what draws the circle, is a green color and has width of 20. And you'll see that CA shape layer automatically fills in the center of the shape with the black color. And we actually want that to be clear, so in order to do that, we're going to set the fill color to be clear. Now we have our nice green bordered circle with a clear center. Now we want it to animate. So we're first going to start with a stroke end animation. So we've defined the stroke end animation property and we're going to make it CA basic animation type. And CA basic animation allows you to animate properties on a CA shape layer. And the way we define which property we want to animate is with this key path parameter, and we'll set this to stroke end. Animations have a starting value and an ending value and a duration, so we need to set these values. The starting value is from value. And we'll set this to be 0% essentially. and the ending value is defined by the toValue property, and we'll set this to be 1, basically 100%. And then we'll set the duration to be 1.5 seconds. After we've created our stroke end animation property, we need to add the animation to our circle layer. So we're going to create a new private function called start animation. And in this function, we're just going to take our circle layer and we're going to add the animation with this method. And the for key allows you to associate your animation with an identifier. In this case, we don't need to do that, so we're just going to set this to be nil. So now if you run the app, you'll see that the stroke end is animated from the value 0 all the way to 1, 360 degrees, and it takes 1.5 seconds. And then the stroke start actually stays put. So that's the next thing we're going to animate. We're just going to copy and paste all this, change this to stroke start animation. And instead of animating the stroke end property, we're going to animate the stroke start property. Now in order to get the animation we want, both these values cannot be animated at the same time. We actually need to offset the two. And so we want the stroke end to start, and then 0.5 seconds later we want the stroke start animation to begin. That way we get the nice expanding and shrinking green path animation. To accomplish this, we're going to use a CA animation group, which we're going to name stroke animation group of type CA animation group. And CA animation groups allow you to group animations and run them concurrently. And in our animation group, we're going to add our stroke start and stroke end animations by setting the animations property to be an array with the two values. And because our two different animations start at different times, or we want them to start at different times, the stroke end animation is going to start at 0 seconds and take 1.5 seconds. And our stroke start animation, we want to start at 0.5 seconds. And so we're going to define its, or rather, we're going to set its begin time property to be 0.5. And so this animation will begin at 0.5 seconds and take 1.5 seconds, which means the total animation needs to take 2 seconds. So for our stroke animation group, we're going to set the duration value to be 2. And actually, I've ran too quickly. Instead of adding just the stroke end animation property, we now actually just need to add the stroke animation group property. You'll see now we get a nice animation where the end of the stroke begins to grow, and then after 0.5 seconds, the start of the stroke follows, and then they converge back at the top. We want the animation to repeat, so we're going to set the stroke animation group's repeat count property to be infinity. Now you'll see our animation grows, shrinks, converges at the top, and then restarts. You also notice that our animation is pretty linear, that is, there's no acceleration or deceleration. We can change this by changing the animation group's timing function. And there are predefined timing functions like this one, ease in, ease out. Essentially, the animation will accelerate and then decelerate. And so if we run this now, you'll see we get a much cleaner, nicer animation that grows and accelerates and then decelerates back to the top. Finally, we want our animation to rotate, so this will be another animation. We want to create another lazy variable, and we'll call this one rotation animation of type CA basic animation. And this time our key path will be transform.rotation. Our from value will again be 0. And this time our to value will be 2 pi, which is the full 360 degrees. So if we add this animation to our animation group, forgot a parentheses at the end. So now when we run our app, you'll see that the convergence still happens at the very top, but now we get this nice rotating animation. Now in order to get the convergence to happen at different points in the circle, not just at the very top, we're going to need to take the rotation animation out of the stroke animation group. The reason we need to do this is because all 3 animations have the same duration, so the convergence will happen at the same time that the rotation finishes at the very top. So now we'll add our rotation separate to the stroke animation group. And we'll need to specify a few new properties here. Specifically the duration, which we'll define as 3 seconds. And we also want the animation to repeat, so we'll set the repeat count to be infinity. Finally, you'll see that our rotation animation converges at different points in the circle, not just at the very top. Our green path grows and shrinks and also rotates. Okay everyone, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you learned anything. Comment below if you have any questions or thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.